I'll do my best to keep my bias out of why the San Francisco 49ers will get their revenge over the Kansas City Chiefs and be crowned Super Bowl 58 champions. I mean, Mahomes is 3-0 against the 49ers in his career, so let's see how will the 49ers break them down. It all starts with Run CMC. When Christian McCaffrey has rushed for more than 75 yards this season, the 49ers are 12-1. He scored 14 rushing touchdowns this season on 5.4 yards per carry. Scary numbers, especially against a defense who allowed a 28th ranked 4.5 yards per carry. To paraphrase what Greg Olsen said during the NFC Championship broadcast, San Francisco doesn't care if McCaffrey keeps rushing for 2 or 3 yards. He has home run power, and eventually he's going to break one off for 30 or 50 plus yards. As the 49ers have done all year, being the 32nd ranked team in pass attempts, they must stay committed to the run. And while KFC are worried about CMC slicing them up, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, even Jawan Jennings, our third down specialist, will be a handful to cover from any offensive look. This is where the Kansas City pass defense, who ranks third in yards per attempt at 6th and 8th in opposing quarterback rating, will have trouble. Too many weapons to cover, they will not be able to blitz without leaving gaps. Speaking of a blitzing Kansas City defense, KC had the fifth highest blitz rate in the league. Brock Purdy against the blitz this season was the best quarterback in the league, posting a 132.3 rating while throwing 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The 49ers offense will win because of their number 1 ranked red zone offense. On the season, they're scoring touchdowns on trips to the red zone 68.5% of the time, but over their last 3 games, they are scoring touchdowns at almost 89% of the time. But we all know San Fran's offense is scary. They had 4 players post 1,000 plus yard seasons. What about their defense? This is where the game will be won. Will the 49ers defense show up? For starters, there isn't much to worry about in terms of receiving threats on KC, but they do possess the best quarterback in the league and one of the best tight ends in Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. However, 49ers defense has held opposing tight ends to the 4th lowest rate this season. Lucky for the defense, they do not need to rush more than 4 guys to influence pressure on the quarterback, so they'll be able to afford all hands on deck when dealing with Travis Kelce. This will be crucial and possibly where the game is won, by making Mahomes use Rice and MVS to move the ball through the air. Holding second-year Isaiah Pacheco at bay will be a big win for the 49ers defense. They have not been great this year and definitely in these playoffs against the run. I fully expect the 49ers offense to be able to move the ball against the KC defense. This game will come down to the Niner defense against the KC offense. Fred Warner will have the squad ready to attack and compete. But the main reason the 49ers will win is because they're wearing the white jerseys. Of 56 Super Bowls where a team has been wearing white, the team in white has won 36 of them.
What's up, guys? It's Jacob from the Degenerate Gambling Life, and this is why the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. First, let's talk about the defense. The Chiefs' defense has been phenomenal this season, especially their pass defense, which only gave up about 180 passing yards per game through the air this season. Their secondary is led by 4th-year pro L'Jarius Sneed, who has been a lockdown corner on the edge, and second-year pro Trent McDuffie, who's a first-team All-Pro and has had a phenomenal year. They also have an elite pass rush led by Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, who both had 10.5 sacks. And we kind of saw the blueprint on how to beat the 49ers offense this season. You got to get after Purdy, you got to lock down those receivers and make them make the big, tough plays. You got to shut down that running game too, which could be the challenge because that is the weakness of this Chiefs defense. They're giving up about 4.5 yards per carry, and they're only 17th best in the league against the run, although that run defense has come to life in the playoffs, and that's why they're in the Super Bowl. If they couldn't shut down the run, they wouldn't be here because they faced some tough running teams in the Bills and the Ravens. I think that while they have this scary defense, they also have an elite offense that's peaking at the right time, led by one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Patrick Mahomes. This team is never out of any game, no matter how bleak the odds may look. They have the human sledgehammer in Isaiah Pacheco. This guy runs like he's angry at the ground, and he's the one that sets the tone for this offense by being tough and scrapping out every yard that's physically possible to get. If it's possible, he's going to get it. And then if you're too focused on stopping the run, they have Travis Kelce, who when he's at his best, which he is right now, he's virtually unguardable. I don't know how you can stop this guy with a linebacker. It's just not possible when he's playing at his best with Patrick Mahomes. And even if you can shut down these two options, which is a very tall task for any team, then they have the emerging rookie phenom in Rashee Rice at wide receiver. When this guy touches the ball, he's electric and he's liable to go for a touchdown at any given time. I think it's going to be very tough for the 49ers defense to slow down the Chiefs, and if the 49ers lay a dud in the first half, they're not going to come back in this one. I think the Chiefs get the job done in a close battle and pull out this game.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
All right, my first hot take of the week is going to be a little bit of a flip-flop. I am taking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I know I said earlier in the season that they will not, but they put it together, found a formula. ChatGPT agrees with me. You can't argue with AI. It knows everything. And on top of that, I think it'll be fun to see the 49ers and Jordan lose. So that is why we are going with the Chiefs. And on top of that, they are the champs, and until they lose their crown, it's theirs. So, next hot take will be the NBA trade deadline. I'm predicting no major players to be moved, with Zach LaVine being hurt, a few other key players that just really aren't on the market. I just don't see too much happening on the NBA trade deadline. Doesn't mean something could come out of nowhere, but I just don't see it happening. And finally, the Dodgers, I think they're going to win the World Series. They've had the best offseason in baseball. The Yankees and the Rangers have not done too much. And I honestly think that neither one of the New York teams will make the playoffs again. They both have major flaws, and they haven't done too much to correct it. So those are my hot takes for the week.
I'm just tired of hearing about Liverpool. I wouldn't say I'm happy Arsenal stomped them over the weekend because I can't stand Arsenal either. But I can't wait to see Liverpool finish the season having won no trophies from the 4 available to them. It's going to start on February 25th when Chelsea will enact their revenge on the Scousers in the Carabao Cup final. Boom, 1 out of 4 trophies they can't win. The hits will keep coming days later. 3 days later to be exact, they'll crash out of the FA Cup against the winner of Watford and Southampton. Boom, there's 2 out of 4 trophies they're not going to win. The poor guys will be reeling, hoping they can continue their form in Europa League, only to see them crash out before the final. That's 3 or 4 trophies they ain't gonna win. They're gonna be looking to salvage their season. Their sights will be turned to the Premier League. They gotta do it. It's Klopp's last season. Only to see them fall short in the race to Manchester City. Mass flooding in Liverpool will occur from the River Mersey, flooding due to all the Scouser tears from a failed season and to see the departure of Jurgen Klopp. That's how it's going to play out.
These are my hot takes of the week. Taylor Swift is not annoying, and hopefully increased female viewership is here to stay in the NFL. Viewership was up in the conference championship round at the playoffs, but the Swift bump was very evident as viewership for the AFC championship game was up 17% over last year, while the NFC championship game viewership was up only 6%. It's awesome that women and girls are getting more out of this great game of football, and I hope that this viewership is here to stay for the long term. Football is a great game that teaches us about discipline, toughness, competition, and it can be applied to all areas of life, not just in sports. It also teaches us about teamwork and how to win and lose with grace, which are important skills for anybody to learn. It's great to see that these lessons are being passed down to a new generation of boys and girls, and I hope that that trend will continue even after Travis Kelce's career, even after Taylor Swift isn't so prevalent in the game. I hope that that can continue for generations to come.
All right, the poker hand this week, we're playing 1-3 at the Horseshoe in Shreveport, and I'm in the hijack for this hand. It limps to me, and I look down at ace, deuce of clubs, and been on a great run so far this day, and I'm a little bit of the table captain, so I make it $13. The button, the big blind, and the middle position call. So we go to the flop. The flop is the Queen of Hearts, the Nine of Hearts, and the Three of Clubs. It checks to me, and since I'd kind of been the table captain and pushing people around, I decided to change it up a little, and I check. The turn is the Two of Spades. It checks to me again, and this time I bet $27. I really don't want anyone to call, and it folds to the middle position who calls and mumbles how I can't always have it. The river is a Seven of Spades. The middle position checks, and I check. He shows Ace King offsuit, and I show my pair of twos, and they're good, and it scoops. And he just starts laying into me about how, I'm a donkey, keep playing those hands and raising with them, and it was one of those days I was just on Sunrun. I was making bets every time I had a pocket pair. I was winning with a pair of deuces like this. There's no way I thought I was good, but sometimes you just have it, and you have players like that will just kind of give you free money because they're just wanting to play at you.
This is a poker hand I played at Shuffle 512 in Austin, Texas. In this hand, the straddle was on, so we were playing 1-2-5. I had Ace-10 of diamonds under the gun, and I raised to $20. The button and the small blind and the straddle make the call. The flop comes Ace of Hearts, Six of Clubs, Eight of Hearts. I bet $30, looking to get value from hard draws, straight draws, and worse aces. The button calls and the other players fold. The turn comes in offsuit 4, bringing in one of the straight draws, and at this point I check since my opponent has more nutted hands at this point because the obvious straight draw did come in the form of 5-7. So I check, knowing that he's capable of bluffing with the hard draw, and he bets $45 and I call. The river brings in the hard draw, so at this point I check, looking to check fold, but he checks it back and shows ace-jack, and we lose the pot anyway. Oh well, what can we do? I think we played that as good as we can. We just lost that time. On this week's NFL Draft Preview, I'm going to be discussing two quarterbacks who are slated to go after Caleb Williams, starting with Drake May. Please stop comparing this guy to Mitch Trubisky. May and Trubisky are two very different players. May is a towering 6'5", 220-pound quarterback. He's also very athletic and can extend plays with his legs. He has had phenomenal production over his last two seasons at North Carolina, where he threw for 62 touchdowns and spun only 16 interceptions. He can make throws at every level, and although he delivers the ball with accuracy, he sometimes does underthrow the deep ball, so that's something he needs to work at at the next level. At worst, I think he'll be a slower version of Justin Fields, and at best, I think he compares to guys like Josh Allen or Ben Roethlisberger. His athleticism should stand out at the combine, and I could see him going as high as number 2 in the draft, although I have him as my number 3 quarterback prospect. Jaden Daniels is a phenomenal QB prospect. He has good height at 6'3", although he does need to put on a little bit of weight at the next level. He's only 185 pounds, but I think that's something an NFL training regimen will be able to take care of. He won the Heisman Trophy this season after throwing for 40 touchdowns on just 4 interceptions, and he also ran for over 1,100 yards and 10 more touchdowns on the ground. When you watch the tape on this guy, you see why he put up such gaudy stats. He has pinpoint accuracy on the deep ball, and he can throw lasers all over the field. He's also incredibly gifted with his athleticism. He has game-breaking speed as a runner, and he can run with physicality as well. At the next level, he needs to work on getting the ball out a little quicker. At times, he relies too much on his athleticism, but the guy oozes with talent, and he's probably the most accurate thrower of football in the whole draft class. He can hit all of the fade routes, he can hit all the back shoulder throws, and he gives defenses fits in the red zone because they have to be worried about his legs. I think in the modern NFL, this guy is the prototype quarterback, and I would take him as high as number 1 overall, even over Caleb Williams. At worst, I think he comps to a guy like Michael Vick, and at best, he could be better than a guy like Lamar Jackson. If he can improve on the timing of his throws and getting through his progressions, there's no reason why Daniels won't be the MVP of the league one day.
You want that plastic working come Miller time?
I can foresee a lot of possible outcomes to this thing, and not a single one of them involves Miller time.
PMA. Positive mental attitude.
Soccer hooligans.
It's that time for the Degenerate Gambling Life's added minutes. I'm Jordan Tennis. Let's jump right in. The transfer window in Europe has closed, and there was not a lot of noise made by anyone, really. Sounds like we're going to have to wait until the summer transfer window for a big splash. And while it might not cost Real Madrid a transfer fee, superstar Kylian Mbappe seems to be preparing to finally realize his dream of playing at the Bernabeu as a Madrista. First reported by Le Parisien and confirmed by sources to ESPN, the French international will announce in the coming weeks his intent to leave the Paris-based club. If you're a Real Madrid fan, you have to be ecstatic about the prospect of seeing the world's best striker, at only 25 years old, join your club and line up with other young stars such as Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham. You'd have to imagine that young core of attacking players will add a few more European trophies to the already stocked trophy rooms in Madrid over their reign. African Cup of Nations semifinals are set to take place on Wednesday the 7th. After an exciting tournament so far, some of the favorites and past winners have been eliminated. The first semifinal of the day will see Nigeria, who last won the tournament in 2013, play South Africa, who are looking for their first triumph since 1996. The second game of the day will pit 2015 champions and host nation Côte d'Ivoire, more commonly known as Ivory Coast, against Congo DR, who haven't won since the 6th edition of the tournament in 1968, although they came in a respectable third place when Ivory Coast won in 2015. Winner of each semifinal will square off Sunday, February 11th for the 2024 AFCON title. Elsewhere in the world is the Asian Cup. While we are in 2024, this is the 2023 edition, which was originally supposed to be hosted in China, but due to COVID-19 has been moved to Qatar. Semifinal number 1 will see Jordan take on South Korea. These teams matched up already this tournament during the group stages when Jordan scored an own goal in the 91st minute to help South Korea secure a last-minute 2-2 draw. This match is probably taking place right now as this episode airs, so tune into that at our conclusion. Semifinal number 2 will take place Wednesday, February 7th. It matches Group A winner and hosts Qatar versus Group C winners Iran. Both teams have yet to lose, let alone tie in this tournament, so that should be a cracker. Hope you guys are gearing up for the Super Bowl. Have a good week.
Okay, for your NBA fantasy advice this week, it is the trade deadline, as I mentioned sooner. So we're just going to go into a couple of tips. First, pay attention to the players that are being traded and the teams that they're being traded to. It's super important to kind of understand where that team is, if they're in a salary dump, if they might even cut the player, and then they'll catch on with a contender. Next, where they are in the team's pecking order. You really want players that are top 3 option, occasionally a top 4, but you really want them to be in that top 3, be the 6th man, have that option where that way, you're getting a player that's still going to be useful and relevant for fantasy. And finally, be watching all week long, okay? Whenever players traded, look for the backup that's going to be replacing them. Look for the player that, is now going to lose snaps. Just pay attention, be ready at the waiver wires, and be the first one to make the claim. You follow these tips, and it should greatly help you improve your team and help ensure that you make the fantasy basketball playoffs. Now, it's Super Bowl week. If you did not know yet, the team, we will be in Vegas for the Super Bowl. We will be there February 8th through the 12th. We're going to have a couple of poker meetup games. First, February 8th, we're going to be at Mandalay Bay. We're going to be there February 8th at 6 p.m. So come say hi to us and play some poker. It'll be a really good time. Next, on February 9th, that's the Friday, at 1 p.m., we'll be at Caesar's Palace. Again, we'll be playing poker. Come up to us all weekend. Say hi. We'll talk poker, we'll talk the big game, we'll talk fantasy, whatever it is that you'd like to discuss. Hang out, have a drink with us. Also, we'll be giving away some merch. If you're the first person each day that comes up to you, we will give you a free hoodie, or if you see us out on the strip, just come up and say hi to us. And lastly, if you have not yet, please comment, like, and subscribe, and we look forward to talking to you guys after the Super Bowl.